I believe that typhoon, locally known as Typhoon Yolanda, it's what happened to us is really one step backward but two steps forward. I mean, the people have learned a lot. I myself definitely have learned a lot of what's out there, what can we use, how we can be better prepared, and how now to tailor fit all this technology into our system there, that to help our people and be a more resilient city. In preparation, one of our problems is this: we did not have enough evacuation centers, and not having enough evacuation centers was very difficult, and we had to include evacuation centers that were possibly going to be hit by storm surges also, and that was very difficult. And from what we've learned is that if we can track the storm more accurately, and we know that it's going to hit Tacloban City, then what would be prudent is to move as many people as we can, maybe to the next city, which is an hour and a half away, if even possible. But now, what we've learned here, that's why there are so many questions that have to be answered. So with the help of the UN Habitat and UNDP, we are able to solicit now and hire professionals. We have an oceanographer, urban planners, urban designers, traffic specialists, and even economic strategists. And when we got them, we look closer to the city's options. Like, what are the areas that are storm surge free? What are the areas that don't have fault lines? What are the areas that have minimal hazards? And we've identified that. And with that now, we're going to build a new township to move many of the people to that area. And I look at it as a marketing strategy too, And it's not that I will never force them to move there. We will educate them. At the same time, we will show them that it is to their advantage that they move there. And so far, what I've seen, it's been working well. We just don't have enough shelters yet. We don't have enough homes yet for them. So it will take time. That process will take time. So really, I was talking to other mayors and telling them that we really have to maximize the use of all the areas in the city. If it is a disaster like a storm surge, which hit us, then if there is a warning, then we know where to put them. If suddenly we get hit by an earthquake, and we also know where to put our people. So depending on the disaster, we can act right away, because it's very difficult to move people if you don't know where to put them. So I think we have to identify those strategic areas already. And so far, we have done that. That's one lesson we've learned. That we have to solicit professional and highly technical people that understand, because they're the ones who know if it's possible that a tsunami will hit us, how strong, how powerful, if an earthquake is likely to happen, where are the dangerous areas, where are the landslide areas. So we have to identify. So we did that, and this time, I feel that more confident that if there is a immediate or coming storm, then or disaster, we know exactly, and how big the place is and where to put people. That's the first lesson that we've learned there. Second lesson there is that there is never a single priority. When a disaster hits, you will have multiple priorities. Because based on our culture and our beliefs, survivors are important as the dead. We cannot ignore the dead. When crises happen like this, we get and immediately rescue survivors. All those that need to be brought to the hospital, immediately give them medical attention. But we should immediately also execute a plan to retrieve the casualties and put them in an area wherein they can be identified, an area wherein we can build what we call temporary grave sites, shallow graves, maybe about 1.5 meters deep, and then bury them temporarily until pathologists come to examine, identify. There's a process now that we've learned that has to be done, and which we are also going to share with other cities. Because it's very difficult when like we were faced with the first week, we had more than 300-400 dead, and where do you put the bodies? And after 48 hours, then you have a stench. So and what is important in a disaster is keeping the mindset of the people stable, keeping them calm. Because I was saying earlier that even though your government has 4,000 to 5,000 people that are very organized, but if you have a population of even 500,000 that are in a panic mode, it's very difficult to handle them. That's one. And you have to look at the type of people that are in your city, because many of the residents will understand where to go because they understand and they know the terrain. But what if, like what happened to Tacloban, more than half of the people that were there are not from Tacloban? So how do you communicate to them in just a few minutes, in just a few hours, what to do, where to go? So that's very difficult. So that's another thing that's another point that we're looking at. Especially Tacloban City is a transient city, and being a highly urbanized and a regional center, regional hub, then communication is very vital. And thirdly, when you cannot handle that much people, and with what happened, you have to have several contingencies. And basically, you have to open the arteries to the city and let the people out. See, I believe very much in preparedness. I believe in very much that we have to study and prepare for disasters. But we also have to prepare for contingencies, because sometimes, you plan and you painstakingly plan and you're ready, but it doesn't go like like you would want it to. That people are people. Leaders, heads of the task force sometimes get sick. Sometimes they have to attend to their family. Sometimes they're not there. So what is your contingency? Who's next in line? And sometimes, mechanical equipment also break down. What is your contingency? Many fallback that have to be in place. That's what I saw there. Your decisions, the decisions you make will always change. You always have to adapt. Every hour, every minute, you have to adapt to a situation. And you have to constantly assess your resources. And you have to now anticipate how long those resources will last so you can prioritize. So these are the things that come into play. And when that comes into play, you have to prepare yourself. Before a storm, get as much rest as you can. You have a different team for preparedness. You have a different team for response. So many things that that will take actually more than a day to just specify.